Recently I had a request to bend some sides the old-fashioned way. And the way I used to do it was use a 3-inch pipe, roughly, and fill it full of charcoal, get it hot, and bend. And so this is the method I'm going to demonstrate now. So I'm using a 3-inch pipe. Notice how I have it mounted on a piece of plywood. The plywood's clamped to my portable bench. Also notice it's got a little door hinged on there. And that's how I'm going to control the temperature. With the door open, I get more air flowing through there, and the hotter it gets. And if I close it, it'll choke itself off, no oxygen, and will eventually go out. So I like to leave it cracked a little bit. I'm using just regular charcoal. This happens to be an Easy Light charcoal. And I'm just going to place some briquettes in there and fill it up. Obviously, you want to be doing this method outside. That's why you see me outside with my camera. Okay. I'm now going to light a match. And I'm going to let the pipe get hot. This will take probably 15 or 20 minutes for the charcoal to get hot. This is not a quick method, but it's one that I used to do all the time in Brazil. Of course, it was very hot there, so here in Colorado it's a little better because it's not quite as hot. But this is an excellent way of doing it if you're on a budget. Okay, well, I'm waiting for the pipe to get hot. Let me explain a little bit about my setup here. I've got my form right next to my pipe, and I've got it oriented exactly the same way that I'm going to be bending. In other words, the neck to the left or to the right in this picture. That way there's no way of getting confused as I bend. Also notice that I have a spreader, and I have a few clamps. I have a paper towel, squirt bottle, and I've got my sides. My sides are clearly marked with the center line on both sides. This is my tapered side. I've got the neck going that way. So now I need to decide which way I want this to go, and that's going to determine which way I'm going to bend. Notice the flat side is always down. So I'm thinking that that's probably a good way to bend right there. So now I have a right and a left side. I have no way of knowing how hot this pipe is because I'm not using a temperature gauge. So I come up with a squirt bottle. Yeah, that seems hot enough. Nice and hot. Alright, once again, notice I have my form. I'm going to bend with the neck that way, so my form is placed that way. I've got the radius side up. I've got my center line clearly marked. So on this one I need to bend this way, which means I'm going to bend it upside down on my pipe. So I'm going to bend it upside down when I go to the pipe. Contrary to popular belief, you do not need moisture to bend sides. So I'm going to bend these dry. The only thing I'm going to place is a wet paper towel here at the waist. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because I don't want to scorch the side. Okay, so here's my wet paper towel. My sides, once again, I'm going to check it with my form. It needs to go radius side up like that. So I'm going to bend like this. Place the wet paper towel over it. And moisten it just a little bit more. Alright. I'm going to place it on my side. And at the waist, I'm going to rock it back and forth. I can clearly see my waistline on this side. I'm going to rock it back and forth like this. To heat up this waist area. When I feel like it's getting hot enough, go ahead and bend it. I'm applying just a little bit of pressure. I want to make sure that I don't bend it like this or like this. I also don't want to make sure I have a twist in it. If that pipe's hot enough, this thing should bend fairly quickly. There it goes. You can feel the fibers relax. And I'm going to take it off and check it with my form. As I come off the pipe, check it on my form. Looks like I need to bend it some more, so I'm going to go back to the pipe. So I'll rock it left to right to get it nice and hot. And when it gets hot, go ahead and apply pressure to it. And since my pipe is a little smaller than the radius of my classical guitar, I'm going to bend just a little bit off the center line to the left and a little bit off the center line to the right. And that's going to open that up for me a little bit, so it's not quite so tight. And now I'm going to test it on my form. Okay, so now I'll place it on my form. Center line is lined up, and I'm matching the radius perfectly. Now I've got to bend this side. And this side's a little different technique. And I'm going to use some gloves for this because I have to get my hands on the pipe. So let's put some gloves on. Now notice that it's straight pretty much in this area, and the bend starts right about here, and then this area also is straight. So only this area right here is what I'm trying to bend. So the technique on this is to, instead of rocking it, is to rub it on the side. Now I get down here where it's nice and hot. I'm going to start at the waist. Notice I have my hand right up next to it. I don't want to bend it like this or like this. No twist. And I'm going to start getting it hot right here. And as it starts to bend, I'm just going to walk that radius right on down the side. There it is, starting to bend. And notice I'm bending dry. There's no moisture in there at all other than the resins in the wood. You want to keep it moving. If not, you'll get a flat spot. So make sure everything keeps moving. And before you do this, you may want to get some practice sides. You can buy orphan sides for really cheap. And then just practice bending them. Indian rosewood bends fairly easily, so not much of an issue there. Keep it moving so you don't get a flat area. All right, now I'm going to check that against my form. Looks like I have some more to bend here, so let's work it a little bit more. Keep the side moving so you don't get the flat spot. Okay, let's check it against the form. Needs to go a little bit more, although I do not mind a little bit of spring back, because it helps hold itself in the form. If you bend too much, then it's not going to hold itself in the form. So it looks like I need to bend a little bit more in this area. Ooh, it's getting hot. Keep it moving so you have no flat areas. All right, let's check that. That looks like about what I want. I've got the waist at the center line. I've got the radius correct. And it's almost there, so I just have a little bit of pressure to put it in there. And in it goes. And then as I work it, I'll pull it back up tight. Now I've got to do the same thing with this edge, but it's a little tighter radius. And notice that I've got the neck going to the left, but I like to turn it over and bend this way. I like to apply pressure with my right hand. All right, so let's just rub that on there. Get that side hot. Speaking of hot, it is getting real hot out here. Yeah, I remember now how hot it was when I used to do this in Brazil. Very hot days, humid, and I'm out there bending on a hot pipe. Alright, that side bent fairly easily. Let's just lock it in a little bit here. Wrap it around. Okay, so I'm going to check that against my form. Place it in there. Pull it up tight at the waist. And that looks real good. Okay, so I'm going to place a spreader in here to help hold it in there tight. And I'm also going to take any gap out of it by clamping it up while I bend the next one. Okay, before I bend the next side, I'm going to place it on next to my form. Here's the first side, here's the second side, radius up. Flat side down, I need to bend this way. So I'm going to go right to the bender like that. Now, make sure you check and double check that, because somebody watching this video is going to have two left sides or two right sides. It's real easy to do. So I'm bending this side over here now, like that. Okay, I have my waistline clearly marked. I've got my paper towel on there. And here I go. The iron is nice and hot, or the pipe is nice and hot now. So I'm just going to wrap it around like this till I get it hot. Once the fibers start to give, apply a little pressure like this. I'm going to bend a little bit left of the center line and a little bit right of the center line to help match my radius on my form a little better. Alright, that looks about right. And I'm now going to check that against my form. And it looks like I need to bend just a little bit tighter. So I'll do that now. That looks about right. Now let's test that against the form. And that looks like that is the right radius. So now I'm going to start bending this side here. I have to bend it on the inside here. I'm going to bend this dry. Remember, on this one we're just rubbing it along the side just to get it hot, and it will start to relax almost immediately. I want to give myself a couple 3 inches from the center line before I start actually making the waist, or excuse me, before I start actually making the lower bout from the waist. So once that gets hot, just walk that radius or that curve right on around there. Keep it moving so you don't get a flat spot. The last few inches are flat, so you don't need to bend those. Majority of the bend is in the middle of that lower bout. Alright, let me check that. That looks real good. So now I'm going to do the upper bout. And since I like to use my right hand, I'm going to flip it over and do like this. Start 2 or 3 inches forward of the waist, and then just walk that radius around in long sweeping strokes like this, and that will bend right around for you. Try not to stop it and get a flat spot now. Keep it moving. Alrighty. There it is. Let's check it. So I came off the pipe. I'm now going to check this side. And look at that. Fits in there very nicely. And once I put in my spreaders and pull all the gap out, I'll glue in my end block, and I am good to go. On a warm day like this, almost makes me want to slap on some suntan lotions and fire up the grill, make some steaks as I do this. It's quite a rewarding process. You are one with the wood. So if you feel like you want to give it a shot the old-fashioned way, there's how to do it.